Hello ladies and gentlemen, Grim here and welcome back to another video. So we got the Mr. Freeze confirmed to be the new character that will be added in the game. Now there's a few possibilities with him. He might be a gold or most likely a legendary because he most likely will have his own soul rates. I mean that's pretty much confirmed as well, so he'll most likely be a legendary that you have the chance to drop from there and he'll be in a chest. And yeah, a little bit of a lore behind Mr. Freeze. So his wife got Ligma, and he froze her until he can find a cure. If anybody asks in the comments what Ligma is, please be merciless. So yeah, he's not that bad of a guy. He's a pretty chill dude. Got it? Pretty chill dude. But yeah, I'm gonna stop with the jokes before you just close up the video. So he's most likely gonna have the Captain Cold AI to start off with, because in the Injustice 2 game, he's a skin of Captain Cold, and the same thing happened pretty much with Vixen, where she was a skin of Cheetah in the Injustice 2 game, and she got pretty much the Cheetah moveset, basic attack hits, swipe rights, all that good stuff. And the fact that he's gonna follow the Captain Cold AI sort of things, it's a good thing. Because Captain Cold AI is got a good swipe, it's got a good back off with a smooth animation, it's got good basics. The only, let's say, downside is that he's got kind of short reach attacks, though that's not something to be expected, but nevertheless a very welcome thing when that happens. Like for example, Kinflan Sakomen has very long range attacks. So when the enemy tries to back off while you're combo interrupting, you're going to be able to catch them. And characters like Justic Flash have and any Flash character to that for that matter have very short range basic attack hits. So it means they're gonna have a hard time catching the enemy when they back off. But again, that's not pretty much a given for any character. It's something like, it's not a big deal. It's good if it is, it's fine if it's not. So I'm very happy if they will do the Captain Cold AI. I can't imagine it another way. If they try to do another AI for this dude, we know how that goes. And I'm generally scared after Deathstroke about them building new AIs or trying to implement AIs that were in Injustice Gods Among Us. Now, we're going to talk a bit about what gameplay he might have, because he'll base himself around freeze stuff, because he's Mr. Freeze after all. We already have a freeze mechanic in the game, so that might get a rework, might not get a rework. I am quite scared of it getting a rework because currently it's already a very good thing. So pretty much freeze is a stun that has the upside of being a stun without being susceptible to the resistant to stun. So unless the enemy is resistant to being frozen, which is very, very rare, except for bosses, a lot of bosses do have that, especially in league rates. You will be able to bypass stun resistance, but the downside is that they're gonna be frozen / stunned, because it kind of works the same way on them for a certain duration, but if you attack them, unlike the stun, it will break the CC that you inflicted on them. CC is ground control effect, if anybody is wondering. I don't think I ever used this term when it comes to Injustice 2 Mobile so far. So I will see if that whole thing gets reworked, and that might mean some things for the other Captain Cold characters that we got in the game and Sub-Zero. But yeah, if that doesn't get reworked, then I got a few ideas about what might be going on. So first up, somebody suggested in the comments that it might be a frostbite mechanic, and how they said the frostbite mechanic might work. So you slowly generate frostbite on the enemy and build a debuff on them, and as they are inflicted with it, they will have slower attacks and slower power generation. And this is kind of lame, because slower power generation is fine, but them having slower attacks is not necessarily good. It might be good in some certain situations, like for example fighting Reverse Flash AI, because that man is really fast and that man's got the frame advantage, but generally speaking, you are used to fighting the AI at a certain speed, and I feel like slowing down the AI is gonna make it harder for you, because you have to adapt your gameplay to something that's not familiar to you. Now, there might be a situation where the frostbite mechanic will be yet again built throughout the fight, and you're going to get increased damage on the enemy as frostbite is built. Like for example, as you keep stacking lethal attack damage with Catwoman and hitting enemies, and your damage is also increased. Another thing would be, and this would be pretty interesting actually, you could have a chance to freeze the enemy on basic attack hits or swipes, and the freeze will work exactly the way it works currently in the game, and the enemy would get frozen, and you would have bonus damage on specials against the enemies that are frozen, to the point where you have to time your specials so that you don't break the freeze before that with a basic attack hit. Or after they are frozen, they're gonna have a debuff that will make them take increased damage for certain amounts of time. Another way that this might work, when you freeze the enemy will take 2 seconds to break the freeze. So let's say you freeze them for 8 seconds, but if you start hitting them rather than breaking the freeze straight away, you're going to get those 2 seconds in which you can attack them without breaking the freeze, and in those 2 seconds you deal like 200% additional damage or something like that. So you have to squeeze your damage dealing abilities and your main thing in that freeze time frame. And this debuff could be applied to the entire team, so this way you can also use him as a support character, as sort of how you use Raven. So you freeze the enemy and then you go straight into attacking with the Confluent Supplement Special Tree or something like that. And for that, a higher freeze window would be of help or something like that. They could put a mechanic that would be like freeze the enemy so they can't tag him. And I mean, that would be fun, interesting, and all that good stuff in Arena and Champions Arena, but would be worthless in Raids and Stories. So it's something that's, if it's there and there's a lot of good stuff besides it, I'm not gonna be mad about it. But if it's there and it's like the main thing, bro, that's kind of lame. Another thing that they could introduce is him freezing himself for 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, he would take the full damage he would take, but if you don't die at the end of those 5 seconds or however much seconds, I'm not somebody designing characters, I'm not that good at balancing them, I'm just good throwing out ideas, look. But so you freeze yourself for a certain amount, and in that time frame you do take damage, the full damage, but as soon as that time frame is finished, you are going to scenario number 1. Do an animation that breaks the freeze and throws down the enemy, and you can chain that into a swipe, because yet again, if you can't chain that into a swipe, that will lead to awkward gameplay. So you freeze yourself for those 5 seconds, then after 5 seconds, if you're not dead, you break the freeze, you heal yourself fully for damage that you have taken, and then you get a percentage damage equal to the percentage health that you lost, or double the percentage health that you lost in those seconds. And you get fully healed, but there's the risk of dying in the meantime of that process. So this would add a pretty interesting gameplay. Or they could be something like, deal 1000% of the damage that is done to you by the enemy. And this is very hard to balance, because you have to balance this for Arena and Champions Arena and for Raids and Stories as well. So in Arena and Champions Arena, if you deal 1000% of damage dealt to you, boy, that's kind of broken. But again, nobody really cares about balancing Arena and Champions Arena. But in Raids and Stories, that would be in the grand scheme of things, kind of nothing still. But yeah, this was everything I had for this video. I'm quite excited for this character. Lots of people were hoping to get Killer Frost, and honestly, I'm not too mad about this dude getting that. He's a pretty cool dude, and I can't wait to get to play him. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts on the matter. And all that being said, thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna go get some sleep now, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
This is the future.